The year was 2014. My younger brother, my mom, and I were temporarily houseless. We were sleeping on mattresses on the floor in the basement of my mom's friend's house. I came across an article about how Sims 4 was about to be released. After that, I watched every single ad I could find. Then I found ᴅᴇʟɪ. In preparation for the release of Sims 4, which was in a day or two, I binge watched her Sims 3 videos. It was crazy how excited I was about this. The day it came out, and for several months after that, I would watch countless hours of ᴅᴇʟɪ and James Turner, formerly known as SimSupply. Then I bought the game. Due to personal circumstances in life, I went from Sims 1 to Sims 2. I played Sims 2 for many years. It was my safe haven in a really difficult home life. I briefly played Sims 3, but the family computer wasn't good enough to actually play it, so I didn't really get to experience that. Many years afterwards, I bought The Sims 4. So I really went from Sims 2 to Sims 4. I want to make this clear. I was a huge fangirl. A stan, if you will. But I don't like calling myself that because that's my dad's name. It's weird. I knew all about the criticisms, but I latched myself onto Sims 4 because it made me forget what was happening in my real life. It gave me an escape from it all. Now, after 8 years of The Sims 4, I can confidently say that those early advertisements, those exact ones that got me hooked, are a load of bull, and I'm going to tell you why. We've touched on this before, but in Sims 4, the Sims are supposed to be
smarter.
The key word is supposed to be. They're not smart. In fact, they're quite dumb. This is all thanks to the autonomy and the AI system in the game. Gone are the days you could let your Sims do things on their own, where you can control one Sim out of 8, or you just need to essentially babysit them all. In Sims 4, you have to micromanage them. Even then, it doesn't always turn out. There are many examples of how dumb these Sims are. I've included them in this video and this one. You can click the pop-up right now to watch the first one, or you can find the links in the video description down below. I don't want to leave you hanging though, so here's a little highlight reel. Why do they smile so darn much? It's not natural. It's creepy and honestly sometimes very disturbing. We get that you're happy because of your friendship with your mother, and because you like the music that's playing, and because the house is nicely decorated, but that doesn't mean you should have this huge, fake-looking grin plastered on your face. Can you imagine if people were like this in real life?
Bruh.
Oh god, I would stay at home. Oh wait, I already do that. If you played The Sims 4 before, then you know what I'm talking about. The Sims have no resting face. Additionally, the faces they make for almost all emotions are a little too extra for my liking. They look silly, goofy, and a bit dumb. If they're happy, they look way too happy. If they're sad, then their bottom lip doesn't stop quivering. When they're flirty, it's just a bit too much. Especially if they're feeling flirty, but they're talking to their grandma. I wish that the facial expressions tied to the emotions were watered down just a bit. Personally, I don't think emotions should be able to kill Sims. I know that was a huge thing when it was first released, but it's more frustrating than it is quirky. I want my Sims to be able to freely feel any emotion without the risk of death. Okay, if my Sim wants to feel very playful, just let her feel very playful. Don't threaten her with death. It's too much. It's too much. Talking about emotions, I think that there needs to be an overhaul to the system. There really isn't that many emotions included, and the ones that are a little simple. Sad, angry, embarrassed, playful, happy, bored, uncomfortable, scared, and inspired. I wish my Sims could feel complex emotions with complex moodlets. I know this might be asking a lot. Nonetheless, I guess I'm just bored of these basic ones I've had since 2014. In the early advertisements, they talk about how the Sims are actually going to feel things, how their emotions affect the gameplay. However, with these fake expressions, it doesn't feel like they feel anything. It all feels very superficial. This has been something that annoyed me for a while now. There are things in these advertisements that are simply not true, or they didn't let them stay true.
This is Ned's rare cow plant.
Maybe at the time it was hard to find cowberries to grow a cow plant, but now there are way too many ways. It's really not that special anymore. Was the cowberry even special back then? I feel like it wasn't. I think you could just go to one of these places in the base worlds and find it while fishing.
Story of Ollie Perdue, a starving artist without his muse. Depressed.
Depressed? I'm sorry, what? Do you mean he has the gloomy trait, which is nothing like being or feeling depressed? They get sad moodlets randomly throughout their lives, but that isn't what this advertisement is implying. It's implying that this sim is currently depressed without a muse, and that when a muse appears, they won't feel depressed. That is simply not how the gloomy trait works, my friend. It won't just go away unless you use the cheat cast full edit mode on and you remove the trait. Which circles back to my whole point about the emotions needing an overhaul. Maybe it would be cool to have long-term emotions like feeling depressed or feeling energized or feeling unproductive that last for a while and can fade away or reappear based on circumstances in their life. Being able to select 3 traits from a limited list of them isn't exactly going to help players create sims with real personalities or sims with
big personalities.
In fact, it makes sims with flat personalities with no depth to them, and they really aren't complex characters. Limiting characters to 3 basic traits isn't the way. I wish they implemented something that was a bit more involved so that we could truly make sims with real personalities. Being able to have a point system or slider for certain traits or quirks, like being messy or neat or mean or kind, would be helpful. Being able to freely choose whether or not they're vegetarians, lactose, vegans, or any other dietary restrictions without using up a trait slot would be awesome. Not everything is so black and white. There are gray areas, which I think the current trait system overlooks completely. Therefore, our sims are very one-dimensional, with nothing extraordinary about them. Okay, this video isn't from 2014, it's from 2019. However, I will never not dislike this one. I made a video about it a while back, but I need to touch on it in this one, since it includes a well-known tagline for The Sims 4, Play with Life. Immediately, they talk about how in The Sims 4, you have
no boundaries, no barriers.
Unless you want to visit your neighbor across the hall or street. Except for when you want to play as somebody in a wheelchair. Only if you want limited choices for tattoos. This isn't playing with life with no boundaries or barriers. There are, in fact, boundaries and a ton of barriers in The Sims 4. Here's another series of advertisements that aren't from 2014, but they need an honorary mention. It is The Sims 4 Life campaign. The backlash to these videos were so intense that they actually had to unlist them all from YouTube. That means you can't find them unless you have a link to them. Fortunately, for anyone who's a little curious, I do have the links, which you can find in the video description. These videos feature literally fake gameplay. These ads were based on situations that simply weren't possible to recreate in-game. So, let's just let that simmer there for a second or two. Using false advertising isn't exactly the best way to get new players, and won't exactly make your current players happy. 2014 version of myself would never have admitted how lacking The Sims 4 gameplay and Sims were when compared to the trailers. I would have argued that the game was great until I was blue in the face. And you know what? I did do that. I apologize to all those people I harassed in real life when they came at me about how Sims 4 was bad. I'm so sorry. I was blinded by the love. Unfortunately, hindsight is 2020. Looking back on the early advertisements reveals how shallow The Sims 4 has always been. Comparing those videos to the gameplay, even the 2022 version of the game showcases the game's weaknesses. What they said about the game wasn't exactly true, and it's never really been difficult to realize that, unless you were a huge fan who was blinded by your love for the franchise. What do you realize when you rewatch the early advertisements for The Sims 4? How does it make you feel? I feel frustrated that I bought into the hype of it all. I wish the game was better than what it has been. Thank you for watching. I hope you're staying happy, healthy, and hydrated. I can't wait to talk to you very soon. Bye!